One of the unique aspects of the Porsche 911 is that for the past 60 years, they've been on the same platform, while other manufacturers come out with entirely new designs. And what that has allowed Porsche to do is perfect that 911 platform. So when they came out with the 992 GT3, you knew that they were going to take an already spectacular car and make it even better. So today, we are finally talking about the 992 GT3. We have this stunning example in paint to sample Gulf Orange. So we're gonna take it out, we're gonna go through the unique features of this car, what makes it different than the generations before. And most importantly, I wanna talk to you guys about the driving experience of this car, why you would go for this over the 991, the 997, and what makes the 992 so unique. So let's take a look around. So we've got to start with the number one thing everybody was talking about when this car was released, and that's this swan neck wing. This is radically different than the 991.2 where the support structure came from underneath the wing. Because of this and some other things, this car produces more than twice the downforce of the outgoing 991.2, so it's actually very functional. Now, as far as aesthetics go, the carbon roof has to be one of the top options you can do on this car. On a car like this that's orange, the black carbon does a great job of breaking up the body color. Does it save you a lot of weight? Maybe, but mostly it looks really cool. Then moving to the front of the car, the biggest styling cue here are these two front nostrils. It's something that you immediately notice that no other 911 before it really has, so it's very specific to the 992. Overall, I think they did a great job designing this car. One of the things I love about it is it's all purposeful. Everything on this car has a job and does something besides just looking good. All right, so hopping inside the 992 GT3, it feels familiar. It feels like a 911, but this car did receive some pretty significant updates. Starting with the seats, these are the 18-way comfort seats. You'll see there's a little bit more shoulder support, a little bit more bolstering on the bottom. After spending some serious time in these seats, I can tell you that they are very comfortable and supportive. One of the most controversial things about the 992 GT3 is the screen layout. You now have a 10.9-inch screen in the center, as well as two other screens on either side of the tachometer. When this car was released, I was in the camp where I didn't love that. But now that I put some miles on this car and I know how to work everything, I have to say I actually really like it. I think Porsche did a great job keeping the center tachometer mechanical while keeping their screens very functional. The infotainment system in this car is very easy to use and has a lot of great features. Then finally, I have to say on a personal level, I love that they went away with that little flappy gear shifter and gave this GT3 a proper gear shifter that you can push the button down and pull it back. So, ultimately, I really think Porsche did a great job updating this interior. Let's go take it for a drive. Like I said in the beginning, this is the most important piece for me, is to tell you guys my impressions of the driving experience of this car. So before we begin the driving portion of this video, I have to admit we're a little late to the game in reviewing the 992 GT3, but there's a reason behind that. I wanted to make sure that I had plenty of time in the seat of this car before I gave you guys my insights, and I'm glad I did because my opinion of this car has changed since I've spent some time in it. Like I mentioned before, Porsche has developed the 911 over 60 years, and every time they come out with a new version, it is incrementally better than the version before, and that's exactly what this GT3 is. I love actually the screens in this car. Like I mentioned, they're really functional, they're fun to mess around with, to play with. The infotainment system is incredible. There's cool little quirks like when you're pulling up to your driveway, you can GPS the front axle lift so that you don't have to touch the button every time you come home. It's Really cool little features they've thought about just to update the car. But then the performance of this car is so good. I think the sound of this GT3 out of the box is better than the 991.2. The one thing that I think is funny is the dual wishbone suspension that everybody talks about. Are you actually going to feel that on the road? No, that's more of a pushing the car to the limits, thing you feel on the track more than it is out here. But it is cool, and what it does is it shows me what Porsche is working on. And I love that. It's what they're working on with this GT3. It's what they're working on with the new GT3 RS. They've only very slightly increased the horsepower of this car. Actually, so little you can't really even feel the difference. But what they've really focused on is aerodynamics and the handling characteristics of this car. Earlier, I was driving this car pretty spiritedly, and I tried to get the car a little upset to play with it and have a little fun, and I couldn't. It had so much grip, and that's because of the things like the aerodynamics and the suspension on this car. I would absolutely love to take this thing around the track because the amount of confidence it would inspire in you would be amazing. And at the end of the day, I think Porsche absolutely accomplished what they set out to do, which is making the 992 GT3 slightly better than the outgoing 991.2. Gosh, that sounds great.